Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and it is Merry Bookmas Day 4. I actually made some progress last night, so I'm not as far behind. Still a little bit behind, but I definitely made progress. I actually finished 2 books, which is fantastic. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So I already read my chapter of A Heart for Christmas by Sophie Jomain this morning. This one, like the story itself, the characters, I'm enjoying. It's kind of the writing, like I said, in the previous days, it's very simplistic, and it feels like she's kind of talking down to you a little bit. Well, not talking down, but just not giving you enough credit that you can understand things. Like, it is very simple. The main character's about to be 19 if she's not already. And it seems much younger YA. Like, it seems like a much younger YA just based on the interactions and such. In this chapter, we have a conversation between her and the love interest. And, she had a heart transplant. And I get what the author and what this character were trying to do, but it came across very condescending. And so, excuse the dog has to walk right on the tripod. Anyway, and so it came across very condescending. It's like, I get you're trying to get her to let go of her fear a little bit and live life a little bit more, but like, she had a major operation and she does need to be careful. And so it just came across a little condescending, and it was frustrating because you had a like moment where he sees that she's struggling and helps her out of a situation, which has happened a couple times at this point. And I really like that. Like, he sees her and he like takes notice, and for somebody who kind of like is just a little bit, closed off and such. I really like that. And other people are noticing that she's struggling and he is. And then the whole conversation was just a little bit condescending and such. So, but I am actually enjoying it, even though it does not have good ratings. And I'm not like a huge fan of the way it's written. Like, I'm actually enjoying the story and the characters. So I'm looking forward to this each morning. And the chapters are super short, like 16 pages, 16, 17 pages. So it's really easy just to sit down and read those real quick in the morning. Now, day one's book was Good Spirits, and I did not make any more progress. So I'm still at the 46 page mark. So I did not read any of this yesterday. I actually ended up not feeling great yesterday, and so I took a pretty long nap in the afternoon. And so, yeah, by the time I was ready to get around to this one, I was ready for sleep. And so I'm hoping to make good progress today, and I think I will be able to. Then we had day two's book, The Christmas Thief, which is written by Mary Higgins and Carol Higgins Clark, so mother and daughter. And this one I gave 3 stars. I did finish it, so I read 35 pages the day, day 2, and then I read the remainder yesterday. And yeah, 3 stars. The problem with this one was it jumped between viewpoints so much. Like, even in those first 35 pages, it was a lot. And so you not only have, Packy, who's the thief, and he's just got out of prison and he's going for his jewels. You have his viewpoint. You have Opal, who's won the lottery and got scammed by Packy. You have her friends, which are part of like the series that this book is part of. Like, they're the main characters. And so you have Elvira and her husband Willie. And then you have, but it's just we're following Elvira when it's her viewpoint, kind of. And then you have Reagan, who's a private investigator, and then her fiance, Jack O'Reilly, or not O'Reilly, just Jack Riley. Sorry, I added the O. I don't know. And that was weird because they have the same last name, which is part of a series, so I'm sure I'm missing like that joke or whatever. But they're not married yet, but they have the same last name, and it's kind of confusing. And I was like, what? But she did put it in here. One of the characters comments on it, like how funny that they have the same last name. So you have Reagan, and then her parents are there. I don't remember if there was a viewpoint from her parents at all. I think there might have been. Then, it's all regarding, basically the premise of this is that you had Packy, and he's been in prison for 12 years because he swindled people out of their money. And one of them is a lottery winner named Opal. And now he's out of prison, and he hid his stuff away in a Christmas tree. Not a Christmas tree, just a tree. Because it was a tree that was planted on this couple he used to work for, their wedding. And so they like never gonna cut this tree down. Well, the Rockefeller Christmas tree people want this tree, and so they end up agreeing. And so he's out of prison and he's going for the goods, basically. So you have the people that have the Christmas tree, then you have their neighbor's viewpoint, then you have Milo, which I actually like Milo's viewpoint, who is somebody Packy's two thugs hired to basically sit on this property that they were going to use when they got the tree and such to hide it until they could get out of town, essentially. And so you have his viewpoint. And I think the only ones really necessary were Packy, Opal, and Milo's viewpoint. Like they really worked for the story. But the rest, it was just a lot. And Reagan and Elvira are supposed to be main characters, but they gave major side characters. Like you only get their viewpoints a few times. Now that actually did end up working for me because I'm not a big mystery like whodunit person. And because we're following Packy and Milo and such, you know exactly what's going on, but the other characters don't. And you only get them a little bit as they're figuring it out. And so I actually appreciated that because it worked better for me. But it's like, but they're still supposed to be main characters and they are like major side characters, which, as you know, reading this when it's part of a series um, did work because, you know, it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, I missed a few things like the same last name and whatnot and some references, especially like the references to the other book I will be reading at some point, which is Deck the Halls, in which is the same characters, and it's Reagan's dad gets kidnapped, and that's the plot of the story. So yeah, in that aspect, it worked for me, but at the same time, there's just so many characters, and it just made it hard to kind of really get into it. But the second half, I did enjoy more because then we kind of got more into the meat of it. Like the setup was done, and you're getting into like the action part of the mystery. So yeah, 3 stars. It wasn't bad, but just not quite my thing. So there's that, but I finished it. So day 2 is officially done. And then yesterday's pick, day 3, was A Christmas Memory by Richard Paul Evans. I started this, it was like 10:30 at night. We read the Dungeon Crawler Carl book, and then I finished up The Christmas Thief because we went to bed early last night. And so I picked this one up. I read it, let's see, 3 hours. I stayed up, I read it in 3 hours. I finished it a little after 1:30. So good. Definitely 5 stars. So this is based on his childhood. Um, and we're following him from the time like autumn and he turns 9 years old through Christmas. And basically, his brother went to Vietnam and ended up dying over there. And then his father loses his job. Their his parents' marriage falls apart because of that. They end up going to Utah, and so he lost his brother. They moved to Utah, and his parents separate all, you know, within the same time period, basically. So he's in this new place, and his mom's super depressed, and so she's like not coming out of the bedroom. His dad's gone because they're separated, and he calls, you know, like every couple weeks or so, and he sees him very little. Um, and then he goes to the new school. His teacher, horrible teacher. Spoiler, but like, does it really matter? I don't think so. Tells the kids, like the whole class at Christmas time, like the bell rings and she's like, "You're not dismissed," and I, you know, want to have a conversation, and tells them, you know, like Santa's not real. Like your parents are liars. He's not real. Like horrible, horrible teacher. So anyway, we backtrack a little bit. So you know, first he's not in school at all for a couple months. Like they move in August, and he doesn't end up going to school until October, like after his 9th birthday. So then he goes to school. His mom finally like, has a good day and gets him enrolled in school. Doesn't give him any school supplies, buys the lunch tickets, but forgets to give them to him. And then his hands are too short, so everybody's asking him, where's the flood and Noah and such. And so he's already, struggling, and then just a horrible first day. He has a horrible teacher. And then there's these three bullies. And so the three bullies go to attack him, and he runs, and he makes it almost to his house, and he makes it to his neighbor's house, and the one bully tackles him, and they start beating him up. And the neighbor is an elderly black man, and he comes out, and he's like, gets the bullies off of him, and that starts a friendship. And he even notes in the beginning, like, obviously that wouldn't be appropriate nowadays, which is a shame, because like not every man that is befriending a child is, has nefarious purposes. And that's really showcased here. And so he ends up saving them, invites them in, and he gives them hot cocoa and cookies and such, and they start up a friendship. And then you know things happen, and definitely trigger warnings. Like, there's some very heavy things that happen in this book. But the end, like, oh, made me bawl my eyes out. But there's this underlying, like, how even in the most difficult times in your life, like, there are positives, and there's a situation that happens, and it leads to a positive outcome in the end, that probably wouldn't have happened. Excuse the dogs. They keep knocking into it. That probably wouldn't have happened if, sorry, the dogs were like being crazy there. Somebody still is. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So it probably wouldn't have that specific outcome probably wouldn't have happened with this event that took place. Even though that event was horrible and really hard, like, this specific outcome wouldn't have taken place. And then, there's kind of a bittersweetness with his relationship with this elderly black man as well. And yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful story. It's very well written. Like, I've never read anything by this author. Said I collected several that I came across at a thrift store, and I'm going to be reading 3 others for Bookmas. But this was a great place to start. I think a little story about a hard time in his life, and yeah, absolutely loved it. So 5 stars on that one, and I completed it. So day 2 and day 3 are done, and I still need to work on day 1. Excuse me, sorry. Between the dogs and my voice and such, I've got froggies and Jeez Louise. Then, of course, my husband and I are reading our advent calendars. We're alternating between 2 12-day ones. And so this one is a mystery for Christmas. The one we read last night, I did like better than the first one. But it really wasn't a mystery. So there's that. And it's called Christmas Cop by Thomas Larry Adcock. Um, and yeah, basically you're following this cop, and they have like this unit where they basically dress up as people that don't have a home and are kind of on the streets, like run down. And they patrol the streets and catch like pickpockets and such. So we're following him on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I think it's Christmas Eve. And he's trying to catch these people, and it's just not working out. Like, he has one guy that he's caught before. They call him White Boy. And he sees him, and so he steals a woman's clutch, and so he goes to chase him. The woman ends up getting in his way as she's screaming for help, and then these winos in the park end up blocking him, and so he gets away. And then he has another guy, and he's been watching, and he can't prove anything with him. And so he's trying to catch people, but it's just not working. And he ends up helping this woman, and then it all leads back together with these 2 criminals and this woman who's staying at this hotel where they put up like women who are in bad situations and such. And so yeah, there wasn't really much of a mystery there. It was just following this cop throughout his day as he's trying to catch these bad guys and then seeing these bad guys do some good on Christmas, essentially. So it was fine. Not really a mystery, but it was an easy read and it was okay. So there's that one. And so yeah, that's kind of where we're at as far as those books. So today, we will be reading A Christmas Eve Love Story again. And I will say with these two, so they're both Advent books. This one, they perforated the pages themselves, which is really annoying. And even with the leather opener, it's kind of messy. And so it's kind of messy opening it, even with the leather opener. But it's really frustrating that they did the pages as well and not just like the on either side, the blue ones, the actual pages of the story are perforated, and it's kind of messy. Where this one is just the block on either side, and then it just has you can't really see that, but it just has like the line of perforation. The pages themselves aren't perforated, which is nice. And so we've only read, like the first three chapters, which was the first section. And I enjoyed it. I don't know what my husband thinks so far. A little bit cliche, but I enjoyed it so far, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into this tonight. So my husband and I will be reading this tonight, and then of course I will work on Good Spirits today as well. And then that brings us to day 4, which I know you can't really see the pen I use, but up close you can see it, even though it's not really showing up on camera. So this is day 4. It is very thin, and it's a paperback. I have no clue what this is. I'm like not a single one. I don't remember a very thin paperback. So we're going to find out right now what it is. But that gives me, I'm very hopeful that between this one and Good Spirits, I can finish catching up today. But it feels good that I finished 2 books. These ladies, again, too well wrapped. I did too good of a job. I've almost got it. Just this one last little section is being difficult. So yeah, I'm not sure what this is, but at least it's thin and it will give me a good chance to catch up, especially because I don't have any big plans today either. So, okay, let's see here. I think I got it good enough. I can slide it out, maybe? Maybe not. What is it stuck on? Oh, okay. So this is one I came across and I just thought it was fun. Well, my microphone had cut out. I was just finishing editing and my microphone cut out right when I was talking about this book. So, spending the holidays with people I want to punch in the throat, Yuletide yahoos, ho-ho humble braggers, and other seasonal Scourges by Mann. So I found this at like a thrift store or something, and I just thought it was funny. Love the little gingerbread man here. I think that's really, really funny. It is really short. It's only 193 pages, so that's great. It is essays, though. I struggle with humor and I struggle with essays. Not my favorite. But it seems like this is going to be funny and it's very different from anything else I've read. So it says, when it comes to time-honored holiday traditions, Mann pulls no punches. In this hilariously irreverent collection of essays, Mann, nationally best-selling author of People I Want to Punch in the Throat, turns her mordant wit on the holidays. On Mann's naughty list, mothers who go way overboard with their elf on the shelf, overzealous carolers who can't take a hint, and people who write their Christmas cards in the third person. Joyce is enjoying Bunko. Yeah, Joyce, we know you wrote this letter. And on her nice list, well, she's working on that one. Here, no celebration is off limit. Essays include You Can Keep Your Cookies, I'm Just Here for the Booze. Nice Halloween costume with skink sold out. And why you won't be invited to our Chinese New Year party. From hosting an ill-fated Chinese New Year's party, to receiving horrible gifts from her husband on Mother's Day, to reluctantly telling her son the truth about the Easter Bunny, Mann knows the challenge of navigating the holidays by keeping her sanity intact. So I'm hoping I will enjoy this. Like I said, humor is very hit and miss for me, and I'm not a huge fan of like essays and such, but this seems like a fun one. So fingers crossed I will enjoy it. So yeah, that's kind of the lineup today. We're gonna work on book one, and then of course read this one today as well. And then we just have a kind of peek, and there's 60 pages to read of this Advent one today, but I'm really looking forward to getting back into it. And of course, I already read my chapter of A Heart for Christmas. So that one's done. There's these three, of course. Um, the Dungeon Crawler Carl book we're working on, The Butcher's Masquerade. That's the one. I keep forgetting the name of it. And then I'm hoping I can get to Wild Women in the Blues since I've kind of caught up a little bit. And I don't, other than finishing editing this video, I can just really focus on reading today. So fingers crossed I can also squeeze that one in. Tomorrow's is really thin as well, and I'm thinking I'm going to go down to the bigger city because my husband has more receipts he needs sorted and uploaded. So I'm thinking I might do that tomorrow and just kind of get out of the house a little bit. And since it's a shorter book, I think that's probably a good idea. And so, yeah, I'm going to go get to it, and I will see you guys tomorrow to let you know how I did today and my thoughts on what I read.